Okay, our painting project is going to be a simple landscape, and I wanted to show you a way that we can get some images off of Google into Photoshop really easy as a reference. So first I'm going to search I vacation trip photos. So I'm going to search that. I already typed it in a minute ago and realized I forgot to start recording. So I stopped it, started over, and I'm going to search vacation trip photos. And I'm just going to look through real quick for an example. And I really like these. Ooh, I like that. I'm going to click on this. This looks like something from Jurassic Park or something. So I'm going to click on that. And then here's the image here. And ooh, all these are really neat. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to right click. Oh, there we go. I'm going to right click on this image and copy the image. Now I'm going to go into Photoshop and I'm going to go into my image that we created in the very first video, B. Jared painting. So here's this image, and I'm going to click on the eyeball next to my grid because I don't really want to see that eyeball right now. And I'm going to go up to Edit and go to Paste. You can also just hit Control V. I'm making sure if you have more than one window open that this tab is picked. If I go to Control or Edit and Paste, it pastes the image as a new unnamed layer. It automatically creates a new layer. It doesn't wreck the pixels you already made. So I'm going to double click on the name. You have to name all your layers. That's something I take points off for if you don't do. And I'm going to call this Island Reference. I'm not going to copy this. I'm just going to get some neat ideas from this image. I'm not going to paint this person or this boat. I'm just looking at this landscape of these cool jungly islands coming up out of this really neat green water. Okay, so I think that's neat. I don't even care that it's not the right size. I'm just going to use this as a reference. Okay, so there's that. So we have this layer. I can turn the eyeball off. We have the grid layer, which we will use in a little bit. And I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to call this just something I'm going to sketch out. Sketch. And I'm going to just take a look at this. I'm going to try to ignore the boat and the person. Even though it's nice, I don't want that in my photo. I don't really want to copy it. I just want to try something with these neat lumpy islands sticking out of the water. So it's coming down. So I'm going to be really rough. I'm going to click on my sketch. I'm just going to use really, really basic shapes right now. So after I've looked at this and gotten some ideas, there's a big one going right off the edge. But then there's some small ones that are completely within the frame. And then there's some in the background. All right. I think that's enough for an easy sketch. And I'm going to turn on my grid. Because like I said, we are not imitating the photo. We are getting ideas from the photo. So any islands I put are going to be way more 3D. This is more flat. And it looks 3D because of the overlapping and how things are getting lighter as they go back. We're going to actually make it more of a three-dimensional image. And we're going to use these grids here. Now make sure you're actually clicked on the sketch. You don't want to be on the grid. You don't want to be on your reference photo or the background. You want to be on the sketch. And I'm going to pick out a brush. Nope, I'm not going to pick out a brush. Well, if you do, I'm going to show you two ways. We still have the grid brush, and we don't want that. It's crazy. So I'm going to click up here and go back to General Brush, Hard Round. There we go. And as you notice, it's gigantic. Oops. So I'm going to go up here and make it way smaller. And remember, you can also use You can also use the left and right brackets to change the size. Now, if this is too much of a contrast here, we can take the grid, click on the grid, and make it more transparent so it's not so intense. And then I'll click on the sketch layer, and I'm just going to start drawing out a rough. I'm going to think of this flat shape. Maybe it's going to go off the page, and it's going to be about this, that, and that rectangle. I'm going to make it like if this was the bottom of the island, that would be it. But I am going to go up because it went right off the page. And all of this, I could color. If you like coloring, we could just color this in for now. And I don't, if it's black, that's all right. I'm just going to color it in just real rough. We're going to change the color and the value of this later. I just wanted to get that shape in. All right, now I want to add, let's take another look. Might put the reference on top so I can always peek it in and out. It was real close to a real smaller island. Okay, so I'm going to, maybe for each island, I'll make a new layer. So I'll, instead of sketch, I'll call this big island. This is going to be different for every person. So I'm just going to get the sketch started. I'll make an island here and have it come up a little bit. And I'll call this little island. And I'll make another one. And now if I paint and it goes over this, it won't actually mess with those pixels. It's its own layer. I am going to, if you make a mistake and want to erase, you can hit E or click on the eraser, and then you can use the brackets as well for this right here to erase what you did. And here's the opacity of the brush and the flow and how hard the brush is. I like the hard brush. All right, so I'm going to paint. I hope you see that there's not just one way to do this. You might have done something that was more of like a quick pencil drawing and you didn't color it in, but I'm going to do it by coloring things in. Now there's a couple really tiny islands kind of framing the side. So let's try that, but with our version. We'll call this side islands. I'll make a little tiny one that's right here. My brush a little bigger so it's easy to color. I'm doing no details yet. And then there's maybe something that goes up along the edge like that. So now we have the space here and we have space behind it. Maybe I will have, here's our horizon line, so our sky will be up here. Let's make another one. And then we have these, there's a couple that are right behind these. So I'll say background islands. And I am going to, so now we already have all these layers. So naming them is super important, and making sure you're clicked on the right one is important. I'm going to make some island. How big are they? Well, they're kind of big, so they stand up. This one's kind of thinner but skinnier. I'll make it kind of jagged. This is about as detailed as my wizard. The other one. And let's see, I don't want to copy it exactly, but we do. Maybe I'll make another one that's right next to it. It's a little smaller. And I put both of those on one layer because they're kind of the same. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put far away islands. And I am going to, now I'm working front to back, which generally you don't want to do, but that's okay because we can turn off these layers so we see just here. So it's going to have to be between the horizon line and these parts here. And we're going to make some faraway islands. Click that layer, and I'm just going to make some lumps that kind of go like this. There we go. Color this in. Now yours can be completely different than this. Now if you notice, the value is very confusing because it's all being blocked. There we go. So I don't know if this is going to be good, but I'm having fun here. So let's see. That's in there. Here's where, let me turn these islands off for a minute, and I'm just going to click on the eyeballs. And now I'm going to add in the water. Now the water, I'm going to take this tool right here, the selection tool that you'd used in Heart Lake. And I'm going to start on the horizon line and go all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to hold down Alt and hit Delete and fill it with black. Or almost black. It's very dark. Now if I turn my islands on, it's just a mess. It's all black. So we're going to use value to organize it in a way that makes sense. Okay, so let's make, let's say we gotta do the sky. We gotta do the sky. And then we'll be ready to organize the basics. I'm gonna make one more layer. That's the sky. I'm going to select the entire sky area, and I'm going to fill it with the same dark color. Boom. Now, this should look pretty bad. Yeah, the whole thing is filled in. I don't usually do it exactly this way, but I want you to see we're also learning how to use the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the grid now. We don't need the grid right this minute. If you think about it, the water, I'm going to click on the water layer and drag it down to almost the bottom, and all the islands are going to be on top of the water. I'm also going to drag the sky even below the water layer because they should be the furthest things away. Now, I am going to, just for now, to get an idea, I am going to play with the opacity of the sky and move it down. So now we're starting to see some sky. We could make the sky really dark and the islands really bright, but these islands go from either dark to maybe a mid, and the sky is bright. So I'm going to stick with the bright sky. I don't want a scary, moody picture, but you might want something with a dark sky. That's fine. I'm going to move my sky is going to be doesn't have to be white. It's just going to be bright. My sky is going to be my light value. I'm going to say my water is going to be my middle value. So it's going to be darker than the sky, but lighter than the islands. See, that's almost the same as the sky. So I'm going to make it darker. This is pretty much just a dark value like the islands. So I'm going to move this up to about here. So I'd say the sky is light, the water is middle, and the islands are dark. That's not all the organization I'm going to do, because we also have this neat effect of atmospheric perspective where the faraway things have more atmosphere between them, so they look lighter. So I am going, and by the way, I'm still doing a black and white image, but this would look really awesome in color. I might eventually make it color. You can do color. I just don't want these videos to be 40 hours long each. All right, so let's just get this organized and then we'll end this video. The background islands, I'm going to click on that layer and turn the opacity way down. No, that's not going to work. What I'm going to do is the next cool thing I want to teach you about layers. I'm going to hold down Control and click on this thumbnail image, and it selects whatever's in that layer perfectly. you could also right click. I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to right click on the image and you can hit select pixels. It does the same exact thing. I just like to hold down control and hit it. So we want these faraway islands here. So I'm going to deselect. These are the faraway islands. We want these to be pretty faded into this light. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I'm going to play with this middle value here. If I go to the right, it makes it really dark. That's not what we want. We want it to be fading away. We're going to make this, we don't want to make it the same value as the sky, but we want it to be different. So maybe we'll make it a little bit lighter, a little darker than the sky. They're really far away. Awesome. Once you do that, you can hit OK. Now this looks really messed up. First of all, these little jagged lines are confusing to look at, but mostly it's in the wrong order. It's sitting on top of everything. So I am going to go up to Select, Deselect. There we go. And I'm going to drag the faraway islands down right above the water layer. So now they're pushed way back and they're in the distance. Now we're starting to get some levels of distance here. Now these islands are in the middle. So let's do the same thing. Let's drag the background islands down above the faraway islands, but underneath all the other ones. So let's do the same thing. Select the pixels. I'm going to hit go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. Now I'm actually changing the pixels. I'm not using an adjustment layer. That's all right. So I'm going to make it a little lighter, but darker than the water and darker than the background layer here, but lighter than these. Okay. So now we have, that might even be too much. Maybe we could darken them a little more. There we go. Because they're close, they're not that far, but these are really far away. Good, good, good. Now, does this look like a great painting so far? No, but it's the beginning organization of the values. This is another way to plan out an image. This is going to be really interesting water. These are going to be cool islands, and this is going to be the sky. All right. So this is kind of our plan. Now, if we look at this, this is a lot already, and this is only our planning stage. So what I'm going to do is go down to the bottom of my layers panel, and there's a folder. I'm going to click on the folder, and it makes what's called a group. I'm going to drag my group to the top, double click on it, and call this my plan. And I'm going to click on everything from my grid, all these layers that I made here. I'm going to hold down Shift and click the top one, and this selects every single one. Then I'm going to left click and drag it on top of that folder, and it puts them inside of it. Now I can hit this arrow, and all those things are in this folder now, and this is a lot more manageable. If you want, you could even put your reference in there, but I'm not going to yet because I want to follow this up with color. But now we can turn things on and off individually in the folder, or we can turn the whole folder visible or invisible. All right, so I'm going to go up to File because we've been working a while and hit Save, and I'm going to stop at this point here.